Hi guys, it's James back again with another video. So welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at some tips, some red flags, things to be aware of when you're selling your gear online. So one of the most frustrating things for us as filmmakers and videographers and photographers is selling your gear. Often we grow out of certain gear, or we just want to upgrade, change systems, whatever. There's multiple reasons why we sell our gear. And our gear is expensive, and we need to make sure that when we sell it, we're getting roughly what we should be getting for our gear, and also we are not gonna get scammed. Now, there are a lot of scam artists out there, and in recent years, I've sold cameras and lenses and whatnot, and there are a few things that keep cropping up, like telltale signs when somebody is trying to rip you off. So I thought I'd just go over a few things today in this video, just things maybe you could be aware of when you're selling gear online. And I'm probably more specifically talking about places like GUMTREE and Facebook Marketplace, those kind of open to all to sell, and they have those obviously messaging features to communicate with potential buyers of your equipment. So that's mainly what I'm kind of talking about today. I'm not talking about selling your stuff on eBay and places like that. When somebody approaches me, I sometimes look at their profiles just to make sure that who I'm talking to isn't some type of scam artist. Now, there's a couple of things to look out for with that, and this is mainly for like Facebook, I guess, where there is a profile to check. It's not like on GUMTREE, you can't do that, but where possible, I do suggest you check their profiles. And in the past, I've found some people who have messaged me about buying my gear, their account is pretty much like empty. Okay, there's no real profile picture, there's no information on their about, there's no friends. You know, a real red flag for a account made specifically for trying to scam people when selling their gear. Another kind of account which throws up some red flags for me is the account where it looks quite legit. There's a profile picture, they got friends, but have a look at when the last time they posted. Now, if it's a post that was put up years before, you know, that's a red flag for me. That is probably an account that's been hijacked. It's happened to loads of people I know on Facebook. I'm sure you do as well, where your account gets hijacked by somebody who hacks it, and they often will then use that account to pose as legitimate buyers of equipment, and then end up scamming people like yourself who are selling your gear on Facebook Marketplace, for example. I understand there's some profiles will have a privacy setting, so you can't necessarily see everything on their account, but it's worth checking just to make sure. So where possible, do so. Another little quirky thing that pops up from time to time when I'm selling gear is I'll have an inbox, and the inbox will be like, "Hi, I'm interested in buying said item which you're selling." Or more specifically, actually, I have a loved one, a brother-in-law or a mother who's interested in buying your item. Could you email them what you want for the item? Now, it's a very bizarre way of doing things. It's very suspect as well. Like, you don't click on an email address to then email them through your email. That just doesn't happen. What I think's happening there is these people want to get your email address to then send you either fraudulent emails from the likes of PayPal or whatever. It's definitely a way of baiting you into some kind of very suspect situation. So with my experiences, if somebody emails you or messages you and says, "Can you email my loved one, they'd like your item," you're better off just saying, look, they can message me via whatever site you're selling the gear, and that's the best way forward. Something else to consider as well is when somebody messages you about an item which you're selling and they're very, very eager to buy the item. Now, It's not impossible for somebody to be quite eager about buying your equipment, particularly if you're selling it for a very good price. But if we're honest, a lot of people like to play it cool, like to get a bargain if they possibly can. So when they come in and they're very, very eager, they don't try and knock a tenner off the asking price. That for me is a bit of a red flag. So keep your cool, see how it goes, see what they kind of come up with, to post or not to post. Now, when somebody jumps in your messages and they're very eager to buy the item and then they want you to post the item, well, that kind of goes against the usual setup process for these sites where you sell your goods to, members of the public. Now, usually you would agree to meet at a mutual place, or they come to your home and they collect the item, inspect it, and then you give them cash, they take the goods, happy days. So that is the usual setup. Now, with PayPal, you can actually use PayPal to get paid, and it's a bit of a safeguard when dealing with people who you don't know and sending your gear and receiving money. Now, the way these scammers will sometimes use PayPal, and they're getting a bit clever with it, so be warned. I'll give you a little scenario now. So I've had messages from people who say, I'd like to buy your item. Unfortunately, I can't pick the item up, so can you post the item? And are you willing to do it via PayPal? So you're like, okay, PayPal, that's not a bad idea. It's secure, it's safe. Yeah, I'll post it. What they then do is they ask you for your email address in order to pay you. Now, that doesn't seem too suspicious, so you agree to send the email over. And then what happens then is you will get a very dodgy PayPal email sent to you. And you can always tell these emails are fake from PayPal because they have such really unprofessional, like crappy looking fonts used. And you can always click on the PayPal. You might get, like in the Yahoo inbox, you get like a P for PayPal. If you click on that, you can then see the email address, and often it's, rather than being at paypal.com or something like that, it's some ridiculously long, quite dodgy looking email address. So that's one thing to check as well. But the content of the PayPal email address would be something along the lines of the buyer has paid you into your PayPal account, the money's there, but you can't have the money until you've paid for the item and you then provide a tracking number. So if you were to follow those instructions, that means then you would have to post the item and provide it with a tracking number. Well, that is not the way you do it, okay? And PayPal would advise you not to do that. When I first come across this kind of fraudulent PayPal email, I did ring PayPal myself, and they said you never send anything until you had the money in your account. So what I would recommend you do, if you're not too sure, before you send anything, you check your PayPal account for money. If they're adamant that you have to send it first, simply tell them to off, because that is somebody trying to scam you. So never send the item until you've had money in your account. So the correct way to use PayPal for posting an item and receiving money is this. Somebody wants to buy your item. You say, okay, we'll use PayPal to do so. And then you create a invoice by using their email address. So you ask them for their email address. You don't need to give them your email address. You ask them for theirs, so you can send them an invoice which you create on the PayPal website. Send the invoice over, make a note of the invoice number, and then you should then be paid the money then into your PayPal account if they decide to use the invoice to pay you. Now, if you get another shitty looking PayPal email saying that, oh yeah, we've paid you, again, check your PayPal account. If the money's not there and they keep telling you it's there, but it's not there, they need to do one. Okay, that's somebody trying to scam you. For those buying on these sites like Facebook Marketplace or GUMTREE, if there's an item which you want and you want to make sure that you're paying somebody who's going to legitimately send you the correct equipment that you're buying, then PayPal is also a good way to go. Now, it's similar for yourself. You can ask them to send you an invoice. Make sure they describe the item properly and exactly the items, whether it comes with chargers or batteries or whatever. Make sure that is all in the invoice. Check the invoice is correct. Check it is what you're asking for, and then pay it. Now, that's a proof of purchase. So if something comes up, it's the incorrect item, or it's not what you asked for or paid for, then with that proof of purchase, then you could potentially get your money back or make shit happen. There's proof there that you've paid for the item which the seller said is the item which you're buying. Does that make any sense? So guys, there it is. There's a few tips. Now, we know Christmas is here and we want to sell some gear, make some money, buy some new fancy cameras or whatever. So just a few little warnings, red flags, things to be keeping an eye out for when you're conversing on these sites, selling equipment and potentially buying equipment too. So I hope those little tips and hints helped. If you want to add any more, then please hit us up in the comment section down below. Smash the fuck out of that like button, because that really just helped the channel. And hit that notification bell. Stay tuned for more from us at Mad Science. Until next time, goodbye.